Hello you creative pasta makers, and welcome to my review of Sword of the Samurai. Now, this game is disappointing, unfortunately. The actual ideas of this game are incredible. Being able to create your character, your samurai, take them into a dojo and really build yourself from the ground up as a samurai and decide if you want to have an honourable route or dishonourable route is a great idea. And honestly, I would like to see that in more and more games, a really fleshed out story with that kind of style. Where this game falls flat though is unfortunately on the combat itself. It was a bit of a kick in the teeth when that very first fight which you saw at the start of this video, you were just thrown in there and expected to be amazing, and you get absolutely scrumpled on. And this happens a lot when you're kind of building your character up. It's almost as if they're a child and don't know how to hold a katana because they're so slow, like stupidly slow. For someone who looks incredibly buff at the beginning, there's no muscle whatsoever because they struggle so much when it actually comes to holding their katana and using it properly. This does get better as your character gets stronger and you build up your stats, but it does actually take a long time for you to get to a point where you're like, okay, this is kind of satisfying. Like a really long time. We're talking 2, 3, 4 hours before the combat starts to feel okay and manageable. And the actual idea of the main battle system is like finding the range and seeing like how far they can actually attack you, and then getting them to swing their katana, you dodging out of the way and then actually getting back into their range and attacking them. That is a lot of fun and actually brings in a good sense of martial arts. Again, that's really good in theory, but it's just not executed really well. The main issue is the hit detection just seems to be off on a lot of attacks. There are so many times where I saw my katana clearly go through them and it just not actually hit at all. Especially when you're doing a more sideswipe attack and you're like, well, that's clearly just cut him in half and it just doesn't hit whatsoever. It's not just a case of that it doesn't work for the human character. Like, I've seen their attacks just suddenly like phase through my legs and I'm like, okay, I guess my legs don't exist. So it's a bit weird where sometimes the hit section is like pretty good, but a lot of the time it's just non-existent. And when it comes to actually learning the combat, the tutorial actually takes in-game time, in-game days for you to learn, and you have to do them one step at a time. Now that doesn't sound too bad, because you're like, okay, fine, you have to. The problem is, you do the tutorial, finish the tutorial stage, go to sleep, wait for the next stage to go by, go to sleep after that one, and you have to do it, I think it's 7 times is the final tutorial stage. So that's 7 in-game days wasted, and 7 different load screens and everything else that you have to go through when you can't just go, okay, let's check out the tutorial, do it all in one go, or skip the tutorial. So if you're trying to start a new game, you still have to do all of that again. And again, added to everything, like I mentioned, this game is just strangely hard in weird ways. Like, you can get absolutely murdered by a completely nameless samurai. I think the name is literally just swordsman, where they just dodge roll out of the way and attack, and there's nothing you can do about it. If the game just decides that you're going to get hit by this, you can't block, you can't parry, you can't dodge, you will just get hit every single time. And if the game decides to chain that 4 times in a row, you're dead. It's as simple as that. There is no coming back from it. You're just straight up dead. The difficulty isn't so much a spike, it's just random. If the game decides you're gonna die, you will die. Another addition to the game itself that I really like is there's almost like a Samurai Warriors mode where you can actually free roam on a linear path, sure, but it's a 3D style of fight as opposed to most of the fighting which takes place in like a 2D plane like Tekken, so you can still kind of move up and down on your whatever axis, but it's basically a 2D fighter. But again, it's just a nice idea that they've added that, and actually that's probably where the smoother combat is throughout. There wasn't too many issues I had coming into that. Sure, the movement was a little bit clunky, but overall it wasn't too bad. Honestly, it's a shame because I really like the ideas in Sword of the Samurai. Like I said, the fact that you get to be a nameless samurai, build yourself up, you have the honor system as well, whether you want to be famous or infamous. You can build your own combat styles. There are so many good things, like the bleed effect. When you actually use real katanas and you get hit by them, there's a chance that you bleed, but it just causes HP to fall very slowly. would be nice if it hindered you in some way, depending on where you got hit as well. There are so many good ideas which just weren't executed well enough or weren't pushed enough, so it just leaves the game feeling a little bit lacking. Again, it's such a shame because I really, really wanted to like and recommend this.